Welcome to We Musings, episode 11. Today, for the very first time, I have a one-on-one interview with a very special guest, Suparna Sharma, a noted journalist in India. Stay tuned. Let me introduce our guest, and you have the honor of being the first guest on my podcast.
Oh, yeah,
Your
that's
claim
really
to fame,
cool.
even though we have very few listeners, but with your help, I'm hoping to boost that up. You are my very first guest, the first of many to come from all over the world, all my friends.
It's an
And
honor, it's a privilege, and I love your work. And your insights are always so interesting. And
thank you.
and there's it's very easy. I mean, though I know you're a hardcore academic, but the accessibility is really I treasure that.
I appreciate that. Okay, so let me give our audience a small intro. Suparna Sharma is a film critic, reporter, writer, and editor based in Delhi, India. She writes on business, cinema, politics, pop culture, and books. She
Correct.
writes for the Rolling Stone, Al Jazeera, among other major publications. Welcome to
Right.
We Musings by Daeryun. And
uh,
we were introduced to each other by a mutual friend. His name is Martin Roll. He's a renowned expert on Asian branding. And I was quoted on an article Suparna wrote about K culture's popularity in Al Jazeera 3 years back. In fact,
right.
I will quote from that article a couple of things because it was absolutely a great article. So
Thank you.
anyway, let me just shout out to Martin. If you're listening in later, I hope you will. I hope to see you soon in Seoul or in Singapore. Okay, so we have a lot to cover today, and so let's set this up for our listeners new to the Indian, especially movie scene. I think many of you might know that it's the biggest market in the world in terms of the number of box office tickets sold, and we're over 1,000, and I believe they are feature films are made annually
Yeah.
in over 20 different languages. And this is probably something that I think many non-Indians will not be aware of. So Bollywood is just one part of this huge industry. And India now also has a thriving OTT streaming market that grew during the pandemic for obvious reasons. So I mentioned Bollywood. So what would be some other big markets within India?
Um, if Bollywood is the biggest, then the other kind of big chunk is what we call South Indian films, South Indian
Right,
film industry. But
right.
even that's not just one language. There are,
No,
at least four big languages. There's Tamil, there's
right.
Malayalam, there's Kannada, there is Telugu, and so that's one. Then in the east, in West Bengal, we have another big Bengali cinema, which is
Right.
also it's also
Yes.
like a big thriving, and they are very big now on OTT. They have there are Bengali specific series and channels, like only Bengali, and
Wow.
so they are doing very well.
Wow.
And because they also, there's this crossover, like Bangladesh is
Yes.
also Bengali speaking, so
Yeah.
it kind of straddles these two worlds,
Right. Right.
Indian. And then in between there's Assamese cinema, which is now again kind of coming back. There's Gujarati
Okay.
cinema, which is in the west, And yeah, and there is this in Uttar Pradesh, which is India's biggest state. There is something
Hmm.
called Bhojpuri cinema, which is
Okay.
a particular dialect spoken in a particular region of Bihar and
Wow.
Uttar Pradesh, these two massive states,
Wow.
and it's very B grade or C
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah.
But it is insanely popular, and
Okay.
it's unbearable cinema, absolutely.
Okay.
But
Wow. Wow.
but it has a certain very patriarchal, rustic, macho kind of,
Yes.
heroes and stories, and
I should check it
but
out.
it's you should. It's unbearable,
Yeah.
but you should.
Right. Is there a lot of, we'll talk about that later, but misogyny in these films, or are they gender neutral? Or
Nothing in
it could,
India, nothing
yeah.
in the world is gender neutral, Daeryun.
Okay, okay, yeah. I take it back. I take it back. Okay, yeah. I take it back. Yeah. That's the world we
And
live in nowadays. Very
yes, yes.
divisive. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and these cinemas are actually uh, um, they are by design macho. Their appeal is to that
Yes.
particular emotion, and
Right.
Bollywood does it a little more subtly and in a more
Yes, yes.
slightly
I've
more
noticed. I've noticed. Yeah. Yeah.
sophisticated manner, where
Yeah.
it takes you a while to figure, because
Right.
it's the underpinning.
Yeah.
But this is completely, bare chest macho
Right.
patriarchy.
I should definitely check it out. Okay. Okay, so let me cut in. And one thing which I should note for our listeners is that you mentioned Bengali movies, and so before Bollywood, you had Tollywood actually. So actually, maybe the birth of Indian cinema began with those movies before
The
Bollywood.
birth, yeah, the birth, no, but that's what the export of Indian cinema.
Oh,
Uh,
I
uh,
see. I see. I stand
right.
corrected. Okay. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
Satyajit Ray was the kind of one big filmmaker who was recognized
Right.
internationally,
Right.
and he was a
That's right.
Bengali, right?
Yeah.
So
That's right.
the people started taking, because that was it was art house, right?
Right. Right.
Nobody, yeah.
Right.
So he was kind of the our India's kind of place at the big table of art
Yeah.
house, French,
Right.
new wave around that
Right.
time.
Right. Right.
So
I see. Okay. Okay. Thank you. And okay, so you mentioned the regional differences, and I'm glad that you mentioned the stylistic differences because I think one might assume that these are just only language differences, but even in terms of the kinds of maybe genres or the style, the aesthetics of the movies, they will differ between these different regions, correct?
absolutely, absolutely. For example, even in the South, I mean, Bollywood is unfortunately, the bar is so low that Bollywood
Yeah.
is perhaps the most the most kind of gender sensitive cinema
Okay. Okay.
in all of India,
Okay.
and the South. I have to kind of split it into two parts. If
Okay.
I look at it from the gender lens, then Malayalam cinema, which is more Kerala, which comes from Kerala, which is this
Okay.
small strip, strip of a state, which is traditionally been a very left-leaning,
I
left
see.
politics, very high literacy, super brainy, and people, but their cinema has lately especially has found interesting stories to tell around women and
I
their
see.
problems, the
Okay.
not even just not just problems, but the world viewed from a woman's perspective. or a
Okay.
story told from a woman's perspective. They've
Okay.
started doing that lately, but the rest of South Indian cinema, Tamil and
Right.
Telugu, is all again, all about
Yes.
alpha males, and
Right.
we're conquering the world with a lot of violence and guns and axes and
Yeah. Yeah.
so, so that, I mean, there will be one or two, here and there. Suddenly you think, okay, is Tamil cinema changing? Is Tamil cinema finally
Right.
seeing women
Right.
as more than just, a kind of an accessory in a film where they are
Right. Right.
gorgeous looking,
Right.
and they will have what I call kind of a 3-song, 10 dress changes role, right? That's it.
The formula. That would be the
Yes.
formula. Yeah. So, in fact, I
So
read your review about last year's movies, and so to quote you, what you said was, after some trials and several flops, Indian cinema has hit upon a formula for success, and it seems that the way forward is to regress. So, so you're not impressed with the attempted changes being made in Indian cinema. And would that be true
uh,
both for the North and South, or
everywhere. In fact, South has
everything?
led, in many ways, South has actually led the regression,
Mm,
because simply because of their success.
I
Uh,
see. I
and
see.
so what happened is that there was uh, cinema in India has traditionally had a lot of government control and government
Okay. Yes.
interest.
Yes.
And they are especially interested in Bollywood because of its reach, right?
Okay.
Because of it reaches so many people on one Friday, one weekend, whatever
Right.
messaging you want to put in, that's the best medium.
I see.
Uh, so since India has had a right-wing government in power, they
Right.
have been trying to make inroads into the film industries.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Right, like it happened many years ago in the US, right? A
Yes.
lot of
Yes.
these war
Absolutely.
films, right? A
And
lot of
it's
these
happened in
war
Korea as
films.
well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So here it's actually it's kind of a it's kind of a three-pronged approach. One is
Mm,
changing of hearts and minds, which
okay.
is putting forward a view of India not as a secular democratic nation where all religions, people of all
Right.
religions are
Right.
equal.
Right.
This is about India as a Hindu nation.
Right.
Hindus are the majority, and Hindus,
Yeah.
it's at the benevolence of Hindus that the
Mm,
Christians or the Muslims or others
mm,
should
mm,
or can live.
mm,
So that is one. Then there is this,
mm,
I guess, kind of sometimes embellished history, sometimes absolute fabrication
mm,
uh, of the glorious past of Hindus,
mm, mm,
kingdoms, kings, etc. So,
mm.
that. And the
Yeah.
third is directly aimed at eulogizing and turning the current prime minister into a god-like
Mm, mm,
cult figure
mm,
who is going to set everything right, who is
mm,
going to
mm,
return India to its glorious past
mm,
and give
mm,
Hindus the rights that
mm,
have been taken away from them, though I don't know what right has been taken away
mm,
from Hindus.
mm,
I mean, so this three kind of approach,
mm,
and in the worldview of uh, of glory,
mm.
where you want a glorious future based on
Yes.
a glorious past. It's not
Yes.
about like how brainy you people, Indians were, or
Okay.
Hindus were,
Okay.
or
Okay.
how, or Gandhi, Mahatma
Mm,
Gandhi, winning
yeah.
independence through
Mm,
non-violence. They are
mm,
promoting a militant, again, macho,
mm,
aggressive,
mm,
decisive
mm,
notion of Hindu. So,
Mm.
it's violence. So,
Mm.
so there is and because India is voting for this government, so which means
Mm.
they are buying into this story,
Mm. Mm.
this fake story that has
Mm.
being spun, and
Mm.
that is the kind of cinema right now
Mm.
they want to
Mm.
watch. The
I
appeal
see.
is one man, like vigilante justice,
Yeah.
one man taking on a corrupt system, all through violence, not through the
Oh.
courts,
Mm.
the judicial
Mm.
system. No, none of
Mm.
that. It's mostly just a man with
Mm.
a gun, or a man with an axe, or a man with,
Mm.
some other thing.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Mm. So does, in a related vein, uh, is it also related to not only censorship, but also funding? Because those two things are absolutely critical in how a writer, a director, especially in terms of directing, can make a film. So, has censorship tightened in India?
Oh, yes.
Because, okay,
And no, there's as you said, there's censorship.
yeah,
So anything that goes against this government, anything
yeah,
that even writers are very clever, right? You're a filmmaker, you're very clever. You
yeah,
can tell a story
yeah,
about basically calling anything out without
yeah,
actually
yeah,
taking names or
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So writers in India, songwriters, film writers, are very, very clever, and they have been trying
Okay,
to do this,
okay,
creating, for example, a different kind of glorious past, which was
okay.
a secular democracy, an
Hmm,
independence won through absolutely non-violence,
hmm,
which is, one of the rare cases in this world where
hmm.
there was
True.
no fight with the.
That is true. Yeah,
And so they are trying to sell this other glorious past of India,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
has very little appeal. It's an appeal only in a very small
Hmm,
secular, but it's
hmm,
not small. It's about 30-40% of the population.
hmm,
But when the state backs a different narrative,
hmm,
and they have been putting into a lot of money, they have been backing
hmm,
a lot of
hmm,
producers,
hmm,
actors,
hmm.
film stories,
Yeah,
researchers. So,
yeah.
so there is this whole universe of mining history for, or not just history, mythology for putting out stories, putting out films, which basically plug into
Hmm,
their concept, or their this made up concept of what India was.
hmm, hmm.
So,
Wow, wow. I hope I don't want to get into politics, but from an artistic freedom standpoint, I hope that there can be, because, for example, in Korea, we do have a right-wing government, and yet they haven't really touched the entertainment industry in terms of what can be said or how it can be said. So at least
thank God, yeah.
we have that going for us. I saw bits of both Dangal and Dunki, and so both films have progressive storylines. So they're subverting maybe conventional norms about gender, but presenting it in a very safe kind of conventional way. So I think it's consistent to what you said before about Bollywood, maybe tackling this, but with maybe in a very cautious, careful way, without rocking the boat, without making
Ab-
waves.
yeah, it's like the structure, the family structure
Yeah,
of the male,
yeah,
patriarchal figure, the
yeah,
daughters, or
yeah.
uh, that cannot be challenged, or forget challenge. Nobody has to, or that cannot be seen from any other perspective,
Hmm.
right? It's always presented as this is it. This is the pyramid. The set pyramid. That
Right.
is how the structure is. And so Dangal did a lot for bringing women into young women from
Mm.
my state where I live,
Okay.
Haryana,
Okay.
into wrestling.
Mm.
So it's kind of there's a lot of female feticide in Haryana.
Mm.
There is, the
Mm.
women,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and women wear these long, it's kind of a burqa, but they cover their faces, and
Uh-huh.
they
And in
have
the
this,
movie, they cut their hair, so that was that would have
right.
been radical. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's based on a true story.
Yeah,
It's
I know,
it's
I
a
know. So a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
Indian movies are based on a true story. That's one of the Indian tropes. Based on a true story. They always have that at the start.
Yes, that's a big appeal. But at the end, it's the savior is the man. The savior
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
focus
yeah,
always remains on
yes,
the man.
yeah, yeah. Of course, of course. But I liked it. I did like it.
I loved Dangal. It was
Yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
it was so fresh. Though I didn't like Donkey at all. Uh,
Okay.
I
Because
didn't like.
the acting is kind of, I mean, as much as I like Shah Rukh Khan, again, I mean, Shah Rukh Khan is always from here to there. I mean, the range of him in his acting is just him being himself. Again,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry, Shah Rukh Khan, if you're watching by any chance, I love you, but
I also love Shah Rukh Khan, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree his appeal is very not appeal. His
Much
appeal
more
is
of a Tom
insane.
Cruise type as opposed to Amil Khan gaining weight to take on certain roles and so on. Yeah.
Amir
So
Khan is an actor.
yeah, yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan is a star.
Exactly, exactly. There's a key difference. Yeah, absolutely.
There is a very big difference. People don't come to see Shah Rukh Khan acting.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
come to Shah Rukh Khan films to see Shah Rukh Khan.
yeah. There are two movies that you reviewed. Maybe you can mention them just briefly. One called The Crew, and the other
Yes.
one, a very daring movie called Darlings, which I found the plot to be quite risky. And
Yes.
so I have not watched it, but I will watch it probably later today. But so can you briefly talk about those movies? Despite, for example, The Crew having Kareena Kapoor and Taboo, and yet it's a different kind of Bollywood movie. And Darlings, of course, it's very, very, I think, um, avant-garde in terms of what it's trying to do. So, can you
Oh
briefly
yeah.
tell the audience what they're about and why you like
Yeah.
them?
I liked, yeah, Crew is, I think it released about last week or something.
Yeah,
It's a new film. It's still in theaters. I liked it because, firstly, it was kind of frontlined by three actresses
yeah,
of
yeah.
three different generations almost.
Mm, mm,
Tabu being from a older generation when we were growing up. She was, she started films at acting in films at that time. Karina is kind of in the middle, and then Kriti Sanon, who's a
yeah.
young big star now.
Mm,
So why I liked it was because the film women's desire. I think I wrote it in my review also. Women's desires in films in India have either been marital, who they want to marry,
mm.
uh, 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 or it has been about who they want to sleep with, who they want to have sex with.
Okay,
That's
okay,
it.
okay,
So,
okay.
if an alien was to come
Not
and watch,
necessarily in that order.
absolutely in that order.
Okay.
And according to the film universe, there is no third desire
Mm,
for women. That's it. They
mm,
only desire these two things. They desire a man to marry, and they desire a man. And if they're not
yeah,
good girls, The
Yeah.
good girls desire marriage, the bad girls
Right.
desire
Right.
who to sleep with, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right.
uh,
Yeah.
this film, A Crew, it changes the desire. The desire is about setting up a restaurant.
Okay. Okay.
One woman's desire is just being rich.
Okay.
Uh, the other's desire is, to pay her to take care of her family, her father, her
Oh.
mother, and pay EMI loans, and be kind of the daughter who will take care of the family.
Mm,
And so and it wasn't shown in a way which is traditionally they would have shown it, which is that they are like struggling and at a
right.
job
So it's not patronizing. It's not
no,
condescending. Okay.
no, it's led by their desires, the story plot.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
and
Wow.
they go after it. They do unscrupulous things. They smuggle stuff. They're air hostesses. So all the three characters are three air hostesses in an airline,
Right.
and they start smuggling gold. I don't want to reveal.
Oh.
So it was so refreshing. It was
Ah.
so much fun, and what I also liked in the film was, once if there is a win for women, right?
Yeah.
How do they celebrate it? It wasn't just celebrating it with ordering a great meal for somebody's mother, or ordering a nice something, a car for the father. It was all about, I want a BMW, I want a Mercedes, I want to drink the best champagne. So so
So
I
it's very
liked.
empowering then.
Right,
For
right,
yeah.
right. So even not just in them chasing their desire, but also how they experience and consume their victory. It was so refreshing.
Oh, so it certainly sounds refreshing. And in fact, I think it's a total coincidence, but in Korea, just this past year, one of the biggest hit movies had that same theme about three smuggling women, and it's called Henya. Henya are they epitomize women divers in Jeju Island who risk their lives to support their husbands and children, but they're used as smugglers by smugglers, pirates, and so
Oh,
it's a period piece when smuggling was rampant during the 70s, and it was a big hit. Check it out because
I will.
it had
Yeah,
that
that
same
sounds really.
storyline. Yeah.
I'm already a little scared that Bollywood has copied from it.
No. That never happened. But getting back to the crew, I was struck that the director is a man. So in
Yes.
terms of agency, is that okay in India? I mean, because in some feminist circles, they want representation not only by actresses but also by the director. And Barbie,
Right.
of course, was maybe the big example of that. And so,
And there aren't. I mean, now there are many women film directors who are making very interesting
yeah,
films.
like
But
The Darlings was directed by Jasmine Reen. So, yeah, it's a
right,
she.
and I think in Crew, one of the writers is a woman. So
Okay, okay,
yeah, yeah. So
right.
but yeah, that does change the perspective a little bit.
Yeah,
So one of the things that I noticed, but I didn't dislike in Crew, was there's a lot of cleavage. There are a lot of like
okay,
long legs,
okay.
and
Just
which is
gratuitous.
yes,
And
but
even the
it's
use
not.
of the actresses, maybe, again, as a non-Indian. Of course, you want someone familiar, but these are all pretty faces, and so in
Yes,
terms of
but
representation, yeah, yeah,
but it wasn't the gaze of the camera was not the
okay,
male gaze to titillate.
okay,
The gaze
okay,
of the camera was, this is how these women like to dress. That's it.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. I like that very much. Okay. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit because I do
Yeah.
want to talk about the Korea wave, which we discussed and which you wrote about, where I was quoted. And let me just tell the listeners, the viewers, that it's a great article because it starts with this 67-year-old Indian man who
Yes.
has watched over 70 Korean OTT shows to the shock of his wife. And he's addicted. Basically, he doesn't say it in so many words, but I think he's addicted. Uh,
Totally. Yeah.
and so he's watched everything show that I haven't watched, and so this I think will be very surprising to a lot of Koreans that you have so many Indians of all genders and ages addicted not only to Korean content, but ultimately to everything Korean, Korean cosmetics, Korean food. So can you,
Music,
yeah, music, of course. So
dancing, music,
dancing,
skin, Korean
yeah, yeah,
skin.
of course. Yeah. I mean, this man, his name is C.S. Mani. He puts on facial tissues and so on and so what you interviewed not only me but also the ambassador to Korea. So but uh, in India, being in India, what do you think explains the sudden popularity of Korean culture? Not just
Um,
film, but culture.
um, it's so. I mean, though these are only kind of facts and figures, but I think 15th August means a lot to you in
Yes.
Korea, right?
Oh,
15th
yes.
August is India's Independence Day.
Yes, we
Uh,
share that. Wow. Wow. And
uh,
Oppenheimer, believe it or not, they
yeah.
premiered on August 15th in Korea. They did.
Oh
A
wow.
fact.
Okay.
A fact.
So apart from that, I think the family structure,
Yeah.
uh, the the emphasis on education in families,
Mm, mm,
the aspiration of where you want to get to, the business houses which are controlled by families.
right.
Um, so there is
Right.
a lot of and kind of coming and growing from in India's case colonized state to
Right.
independence
Right.
and then trying
Right.
to become a modern state.
Yes.
Great educational institutions, a lot of emphasis on that, a lot of the way we live, right, in India and in Korea,
Yeah.
in colonies, at least in the
Yes.
in the 50s and the 60s and the
Yeah.
70s,
Yeah.
where women would sit outside. Like I remember watching this scene in was it the replay one of the Korean series. The name will come back to me, where
Okay.
women
Okay.
are sitting and
Yeah.
outside their homes, like on a
Yeah.
on a little pedestal kind of a thing, and they are either chopping some vegetables for the evening, and
Yeah.
they are discussing their husbands. They are
Yeah.
discussing what to cook at night. They're
Okay.
discussing their kids' lives. Where are they
Yeah.
going? What are they doing? It is so it's if you just change the language, it could be a scene out of India.
Wow. 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 Wow.
So the first
So
appeal
that
is
all
familiar.
resonates in India. It's something that they
Yes,
can relate to very easily.
apps. Yeah. Like the concept of nuclear families in the West, right? In
Yes.
where people are living, where everything is individual, everything is about.
Right.
Whereas in our cultures, everything is about the family.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Right.
so I think that is one
And the
very.
sacrifices that the parents make for their children.
Absolutely. The mother figure, the father figure kind of dominate the psyche of our countries.
No, I don't want to quote. I will quote the ambassador, but she mentioned Sky Castle, and it was
Yes.
so funny when I read it because I'll just read it from what I see here. Consider the K-drama Sky Castle, where mothers and fathers go to extreme, often criminal lengths to make sure their children excel in education. So no cost is too much, she added. So something even criminal resonates with Indians as being, oh, we
Absolutely.
understand. We understand. Yeah.
The number of paper examination paper leaks in India is
Ah,
is legendary. Like I
I
think we
see.
beat. Yeah.
I
So
see.
and the, in that series there is this whole competition to get the
Yes.
best
Yeah. Yeah.
coaching, the best
Yeah.
teacher, the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
India has a place there's a city called Kota, Kota,
Okay.
which is basically over the last maybe a decade and a half or 2 decades has turned into the coaching center for India for basically two exams.
I see. In Korea,
The
it's
two,
called Gangnam. So that would be Gangnam in India.
oh, right.
Gangnam, as in Gangnam style. So that's where all
Oh,
the top so-called hagwons, as we call them, the cram schools are. In
right.
Seoul. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how those are run. I looked that up, but these are basically residential coaching centers where kids
Hmm.
as young as in the ninth standard are
Yeah. Yeah.
sent.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Even on the weekend. On the weekend, you don't see children in
yeah,
Korea because they're all there cramming. Yeah.
so exactly that. So even that is so similar. So I think first appeal is that. The second appeal is that the stories that come out of Korea are maybe within a familiar framework, but the stories that are told are very different from the stories we tell.
Right, right,
uh,
right.
you know it will be, even if it's a family, it will focus on an individual, but then there is also the partition, right, between the North Korea and
Yes,
South
yeah,
Korea,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
like India, Pakistan. So that
yeah,
is also
right,
our lost
right.
brothers, our lost heritage, our lost
Ah,
connection.
ah. So there are a lot of similarities between our two countries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that bigger context, that bigger picture, I think, puts it into its proper perspective. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I
yeah,
hope just me, but I think not only me, but maybe Indians living in Korea as well, that given those similarities, it should be a two-way street. So I think the challenge for India is to have Indian culture resonate in Korea as well, because I
yeah.
think maybe now it's more one way. Yeah,
It is, I think it is more one way also because the Korean government, the Korean Cultural Center, the Korean government, also the Korean industry, maybe not from Korea, but the big station networks and the
yeah,
big producers, they
right,
have focused a lot on the universal appeal, how to create a universal appeal of
right.
Korean series and increasingly now Korean films.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think so. One big reason why Korean series travel so well, to other countries, to other parts of the world, not just India. I mean, there are huge hits everywhere.
right, right. Everywhere,
It, everywhere. It's because
especially with
they're,
BTS. I mean, you look at
yeah,
BTS. I mean, it's
yeah, yeah.
mainstream in the US.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
because of their very, very high production quality.
Yes, yes, yeah,
That's one thing. It's it's seductive how good it is, right?
But can't India do that? Because you have conglomerates, you have Tata, you have Reliance. So the
Yeah, but
money should be there.
I think the difference is in being a smaller country and being a world's second most populous country. India has a market
Ah,
that's big enough.
yes. No, no, you're right. You're right. So Korea, it gets back to the audience. We were talking before we started recording that Korea considers itself to be a small country, despite the fact that it's one of the top 10 economic powers. And yet there is that sense that Korea is too small, and therefore we always have to go outside to sell our stuff, to sell our culture.
Yes.
Whereas India doesn't feel that urgency.
No, not at all. And in fact, the urgency that Korea felt, in this, and I think they
Yeah.
started working on this long ago, not just in
Yeah.
their series, but also in
Yeah.
their production quality, their manufacturing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there was a kind of a national will towards excellence
Yes. Yes.
in many
Yes.
ways.
Yeah.
Which means that your products are of a certain quality, it's guaranteed. Whereas in India, that excellence has happened in small individual pockets. It's not been
Mm,
because the market demand is local and it's
mm,
not for excellence. The market
mm.
demand is for cheap and fast.
So the Made in India campaign, is that still ongoing or
The
have they
Made in India
stopped? Or?
campaign is part of the big nationalist project. It's not
I
about
know, but I wanted to believe that for certain products that they meant it and
they
that
do, and there is manufacturing, but
yeah.
right now there is no. I have not seen yet any excellence,
Mm,
anything
mm.
that. I mean, even if India is one of the largest producers of textiles,
Right, right.
and a lot of textile is great,
Yes,
but
yes,
but and it does export a lot,
yeah.
but
Like
still there
linen,
is
madras linen, and the top
yes.
notch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but our excellence remains still in our traditional arts and crafts,
Okay,
not not
I
in
see.
any new innovation. Okay,
Hmm.
we are creating great techies, uh,
Software and yeah,
software.
AI could be a new frontier. So with all your,
I
I mean,
don't
that could
think
be a
so.
stereotype for all your engineers. Yeah,
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 lot of engineers, lot of software engineers, but
yeah.
very few. There's no. There has to be a motivation for excellence for something, right? Which
Okay,
remains at an individual level.
okay.
Individuals might work. So Sundar Pichai or Pichai, heading Google, or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Parag,
yeah, yeah,
who was the head of Twitter, or
yeah,
in Indra Nui, who was the head of
yeah, yeah.
PepsiCo.
Let's
So
see.
a lot
They're all in the U.S. They're all American. They're all
of yeah.
British. They need to go back.
So those are individual cases. There isn't a need. We haven't
Mm,
felt a need because our market is big enough. We don't
mm,
care in a
mm,
sense, right?
mm,
So
mm. Yes, no, yeah, I understand, and maybe there is a an evolution that needs to take place, and so I think even with Koreans, expats, they came back, but it took them, I think, a while to do so, and so knock on wood, let's hope that that happens, that knowledge transfer will come back to India someday. Yeah.
I don't think so.
You
Because
don't
the
think so?
exodus. No, I
Mm,
think right now, because in the last 7-8 years, there's been a massive exodus of talent and
mm,
brain
mm,
from
mm,
India. In fact,
mm,
this whole nationalist project has
mm,
pushed people to other seek employment,
mm,
seek
mm,
life elsewhere. So I don't.
mm,
Whoever could is going. Whoever can is
mm,
going.
mm, mm.
So that's not going to happen
Yeah.
very soon.
Well, if the money can be made in India, and that's what happened in Korea, so I think that could be, it's not just patriotism, but patriotism with getting paid what you're properly do. I think that the two
Right.
go hand to hand. Okay, just a couple more things, and let me see. So we talked about creating content, and in the article it talks about Mr. Mani's again use of cosmetics, and so is Korean food popular now in India? Because I have been doing some research where I found that you have many restaurants opening, not only by Koreans but also even by Indians. So, and because of the influence of watching Korean food being
Yes.
consumed in film, and of course drinking for Indians who are allowed to drink, and in Korean movies, as you know, a trope is always drinking soju. We always have to
Yes.
drink soju and make that sound.
Yeah, Indians are one of, I think, the largest consumers of
Soju,
scotch.
scotch. Okay, okay. India makes scotch. In
Well, now
India
we
has,
started making scotch.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
and it's doing quite well. But yeah, your so the food appeal is very strong.
Okay, okay.
It's and in fact now not just Korean restaurants, but we get a local brand. I think ITC has started something called Bingo Chips,
Wow.
which has Korean flavors, and even the Korean style of marking spices have
So it's not
started
even
now.
Korean companies making the Korean food. It's
Yeah,
Indian company making Korean food.
yeah. There is another company called which is making these packed bubble teas, an Indian company, bubble
Yeah.
tea, and there are a lot of Korean flavors, but they've introduced a lot of Indian twists also,
Okay.
like a
Okay.
guava
Okay.
something, you
Okay.
know, or
Okay.
so we're not only consuming Korean food from Korea, we are
Yeah.
now making Korean food ourselves with
Wow.
Indian tadka. And
Wow. We should license that. We're losing
yes,
out. I mean, so some of the Hallyu money, which I was quoted as saying is worth 10 billion. Guess what? It's 70 billion now. And
wow.
therefore, if Hallyu were a company, it would be number five. It is
Wow.
that big. So it speaks to the how lucrative soft power can be.
Oh,
It
yes.
does.
Oh, yes. Yeah. In fact, I think last year in October, there was a big in Bangalore, which is the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
IT
It's an
capital of,
IT city, big one.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been to
And they had,
Hyderabad, by the way. Yeah. Anyway,
oh, you have? Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And they organized a massive, I think it was a 2 day Korean Wave festival.
Okay.
And there were dances, and
Yeah,
it was called K-Wave Festival, and there was a lot of dancing and music and eating and just groups getting together to talk about their favorite stars and their favorite series and their favorite, and these groups are very passionate. I mean, if it's one is descendants of the sun, one is
yeah,
the glory, and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
like they're ready to go to war over
Wow. Wow. And it's
Yeah.
not only food, but I know that Samsung and LG, these are huge brands,
Oh yeah,
and
my
they're leveraging Korean content.
half the products in our house are LG and
Yeah,
Samsung and
there you go. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there was a time, and I'm not afraid to say this, but Samsung did not say it was made in Korea. They just uh, allow people to think that it was made in maybe other countries like Japan. But now
Japan.
all Korean companies are proud. Oh, we're made in
Yes.
Korea, and they use Korean idols. And so they're leveraging to the hilt the soft power. Yeah.
Yeah, there, and I think in India, in Chennai, with South India, there
Yeah.
is a big
Where all the cars are
manufacturing.
made. Yeah, Chennai. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
all the Samsung. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there is no longer a subculture. It's part of, like, it's almost like uh, 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 it's there are influencers now on Instagram who's
Mm,
Korean influencers who
right.
go to India, or Indians who go to influencers who
Yeah,
talk about Korean products, series,
yeah.
etc. So they are both
And they
are
all speak Korean. I mean, I'm amazed as to how, I mean, some Indians who come to my school and speak Korean, they don't have any accent. I mean, a foreign accent. And
because
it's
they're all
almost like a Valley
trained.
Girl kind of Korean accent. In Korea, we have this young Valley Girl kind of accent, which only Korean girls born and raised in Korea have. Well, Indian girls have that when they come to Korea, and I think it's the power of YouTube and K-drama, which they have
Yes.
heard. They were very young, and so they've been
Yeah.
brainwashed into speaking Korean like a Korean. Yeah, yeah,
It's actually the appeal that we talked about. The appeal is about um, being like being
yeah,
Korean. The appeal
yeah.
is like, I don't want to sound like I'm an Indian speaking the Korean language. I
Yeah.
want to sound like you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And they do. And I just
Yeah.
forget that they're Indian. I just relate to them as just
And
another
they
Korean
teach.
student.
I interviewed one girl for that article who learned Korean, and now from her house was running a little coaching center of teaching Korean to a lot of girls. And she is not alone. There are a lot of people, a lot of girls doing that.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
teaching Korean to Indians
Yeah.
who are attracted to the culture,
Good.
to the
Yeah.
is now a lucrative employment option.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Yeah. I have to make my way to India very soon, not to teach Korean, but maybe to teach about marketing and films, and
Oh,
maybe
you
do it in
must.
Korean. So I can kill
Yeah.
three birds with one stone, so to speak. Okay, one
Yeah.
final question, and so I'm going to segue back to Indian movies, and I've been always struck by the acting dynasties that you have, the Khan, the Kapoor, the Bakshans, and why are they such a strong presence still? Is it because of the I mean, the acting? I mean, in the case of Amir Khan, we agree that he's an actor. He's a good actor. Uh, is it just that, or is it like maybe the conglomerates where you have these legacies between one person passing it on to the next generation? Is there that constancy that people seek in these actors? What can explain the popularity of these families in Indian acting?
Uh, I'll have to. The Khans are not from one family. The
Oh, right, right.
Khans,
Yeah, that I know. But you do have some cons who are related.
yeah. But
Yeah.
like Shah Rukh Khan had his family. He lived in Delhi.
I
He
know
worked.
that he and
Yeah.
Amir are totally unrelated. That I know. That I know. Yeah.
Amir and Salman Khan are from three different
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
Amir Khan is the son of a producer
Yeah.
and director, and
Yeah.
Salman is the son of a Bollywood film writer, one of the
Yeah.
biggest Bollywood
Yeah.
film writers of his time.
Yeah.
Um, he made it. His three brothers also tried their hand at
Yeah.
film acting. They didn't make it.
Okay, okay.
Uh, but the Kapoors and the Yash Chopras, yeah,
Yeah,
those are the big family. The Chopras and
yeah.
the Kapoors and now the Johar, Karan
Okay,
Johar
okay,
family, right
okay.
there. Though it's not a family, it
And
was his fa
Bachchans, you have two generations at least, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Amitabh Bachchan and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Abhishek.
Abhishek Bachchan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, so yeah, I from what I think, they stars. They're all,
yeah.
children of big stars, either film stars or star directors,
Okay.
star producers. Who had these big and these kids who. So basically, they set up these. It's like a business, a massive business that they set up. So it is
Ah,
it is inherited. It
okay.
is the contacts, the
Right, right,
goodwill,
right.
everything, and their lives are mapped in film, film
So it's
journal.
almost like Sky Castle. So in a way, it's we're getting back to Sky Castle.
Yes. So in a way, their lives have been mapped. Everybody knows when Abhishek Bachchan was born.
Okay,
Everybody knows
I
how
see.
he
I
grew up.
see.
Which
I
so
see.
there is this effort. There is an interest in their lives and their children,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and there is an effort from their side to start grooming these kids right
yeah.
from the beginning as
Okay.
the kids who will take over. Now, Abhishek Bachchan is not as successful, not even 100th as successful as Amitabh
Uh,
Bachchan.
oh yeah, he's a
Um,
legend. I mean, he's
yeah,
such a legend.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and which is no fault of Abhishek Bachchan.
yeah,
I think he
yeah,
just has shoes to fit in that no one
yeah.
can fit in.
Right. True, true. But he did marry
So
Aisha Arya Rai, right? Abhishek.
Aishwarya Rai, yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
but some of them like so I think that's what it is. It's like a family business. This is the
Hmm.
world they grow up in. This is what
Okay.
they know. They're not going
Okay.
to. Most of them are not going to try and become doctors or whatever because
Right.
their
Right.
whole family has not invested in that, right? The
Yeah.
families.
Yeah, but from the parents or the family side, I fully understand that. But from the viewers' perspective, they're okay with that too. So they don't
Oh yeah,
mind that
yeah, yeah.
they're so-called nepo babies, and so
I mean, there is absolutely this strong feeling that this strong feeling comes mostly when they are not talented.
okay, right, right. But they are
When they're
talented.
when they're
So some of
talented,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
For like Abhishek Bachchan, there is the nepo tag, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for example, someone like Aditya Chopra, who's one of the
Yeah.
biggest producers in the country, there
Yeah.
is no tag of nepo kid because
Okay.
he's 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 100 times more successful than his father,
I see. I
who
see.
who made these big silsila and massive hit films,
I see.
um,
I see.
or
I see.
Alia Bhatt, who is
Yeah.
Mahesh Bhatt's daughter.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that tag doesn't stay because they just their talent
I see.
kind of overpowers. So
Okay.
if you're not talented and you're a nepo
Well, that's
kid,
good. That's good to know. So as long as you're talented, I mean, who
nobody
cares
cares.
who your parent is? Yeah. It's like what Kirk Douglas said that someone told him, "Oh, aren't you?" And he expected her or him to say Kirk Douglas, and she said, "Oh, you're Michael Douglas's father." So that will happen if the children outgrow your fame.
Yes.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. So it is an issue because it blocks people from outside. The industry doesn't give that kind of opportunity and space and
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
invest so much in people from outside because all your
yeah.
efforts are going into
Right.
supporting star kids.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
within that circle,
yeah.
only talent survives.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and on that note, only talent survive. I think that applies to our industries as well. So you're very talented. I hope my talents have held up. So it's been an absolute joy talking with you. And
What
let me
pleasure
return the
to.
favor anytime. Please call. For
Yeah,
whatever
I will.
article you're working on, just call. And
I'll do that, and all the best. And I hope to see many, many episodes of your show now.
yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
have a
you.
great evening.
You too.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Bye.